Good. This is much quieter than what I normally read. It's a very intimate setting here. Okay. So I'm gonna read Charlie Elliott, and it's in sleepovers, and all of y'all tuning in who have been with me at this West Virginia Wesleyan College winter residency know that I gave my seminar the other morning on second person point of view. So after I gave that seminar, I figured out to read this story. So here it goes. Charlie Elliott. You don't know if you were born wrong or if it's because on the way home from the hospital there was a big storm and your daddy wrecked the car and your mama dropped you in the floorboard. Y'all all survive, but you aren't right. You are the oldest son. You grow up to be the tallest of your brothers and sisters. You learn everything late. Start walking when you're 4. Your legs look like toothpicks. You aren't able to help on the farm, but you know how big it feels, especially when you look at it from your upstairs bedroom window. It stretches back far behind the house, and you watch the tops of your daddy and brothers and sisters' heads in the rows suckering tobacco. You can always tell which one is which. You sit at home with your mama and watch her iron and play the piano. You're decent at shucking corn, but feel you could be better if you didn't shake so bad. Your daddy doesn't understand. He thinks you can control it. He yells at you and tells you to control it. You sit angry. When you get nervous, it's hard to keep your hands steady. Since you're the oldest, your mama wants you to sit next to your daddy at the table, but sometimes you spill the peas from your spoon, so your daddy makes you wear a bib and sit far away from him. It's hard for you to write, and you never learn cursive because of it. You don't finish school because you don't see the need to. You don't drive the tractor. You don't learn to drive a car. Your mama wants you to always stay where she can see you. You have to wear glasses. You can't play sports. When your younger brothers are playing their basketball and baseball and football games, you think about them having a good time and scoring for the home team and getting high fives. So you wait for them on the front porch thinking about this, and you want to hit them real hard right in the face. When they come home, sometimes you hurt them so bad that your mama calls the doctor in town to come out to the house. The doctor tells you you don't know how strong you are. And while your brothers are saying you're crazy, while they're covering their faces in the corner and blood's running from their mouths, while your sisters are hiding in the closet, your mama begs the doctor not to say nothing to people in town. The doctor promises he'll never say a word every time he gives you a shot to knock you out. You go into town with your family to the bank and feel that everyone there knows how you are, and you feel them looking at you and your stiff legs and shaky head. You want to leave them all, leave everything and go somewhere. At the family reunion when you're 17, you want to bury all your daddy's new baby chicks in the soft dirt in the path next to the old family home place. You want to bury them in that soft dirt with their heads sticking out. And you want to call all your family outside, and you want them to stand on the porch while you lawnmower all the baby chicks' heads off in a nice little row. You want all your kin to see you do something real terrible like that. And then you want to run and cut across the fields and the swamp until you can catch a train and go far, far away. You think about this plan over and over. And then you get too scared in the chicken coop trying to get the biddies because the mama hens peck at your hands so bad you can't stand it. You know this means you're sensitive. You're a wuss. And for the rest of the afternoon, you sit alone under a gum tree looking at your pecked hands, while your brothers and sisters and cousins race around and around you. You stay there in the middle of it all and watch everything and don't talk to anyone until you decide to go and wash your hands in the sink. And when you come up, you see your head is still shaking in the mirror, and your glasses are filthy too. Your mama prays with you every night, prays with you longer than she does with your brothers or sisters. You think it's because she's afraid of you. She tells you to listen for God's still, quiet voice. Your daddy tells you that no woman will ever love you. You believe him. All your younger brothers are away at war, repairing bombers on Air Force bases. Their girlfriends with curled hair come up on the porch on late Saturday afternoons and ask if y'all have heard any news lately. You sit on the bottom step and stretch out your big toe and try to make circles with it in the dirt, but they come out rectangles. You hear how sad these girls are asking, and you wonder if your brothers will ever know how sad they sound. And your mama listens to the radio at night. You hear a story on there about a door-to-door salesman who becomes the hero of the town by keeping the citizens from brawling each other at a town meeting. He's a friend to everyone, and when he stands up at the meeting, everyone looks at him. They think he's so great that they want to make him mayor, but he humbly declines. You decide then you want to be a door-to-door salesman. Your mama says no, she does not want you leaving the house with strangers like they are. But you know she really means she does not want you leaving the house with you like you are. You tell your daddy it's what you want to do, and he says it ain't right either. Your baby sisters believe you the most and help you shine your shoes and clean your glasses. You order pens and pencils and office supplies with money you've been stealing from the offering plate all these years to get out of this place. You put on your nice clean button-up your mama ironed. You buy a cheap briefcase from the dime store and know that you're the first person in your family to have a briefcase. You ask your daddy to drop you off in town, and he doesn't say a word the whole ride. And you go door to door, starting on Main Street and then working your way back into the neighborhoods. All the streets are named after trees in town. And people open their doors because they know who you are, or they've heard of you. But they don't seem to be afraid of you, cleaned up with a briefcase. A nice lady opens the door on Peachtree Street, and she's got one of those faces that feels familiar, like you've known her all your life. She buys a bunch of colored paper for her daughter who likes to draw. You ask how old her daughter is, and she is 4 years younger than you. You ask what school she went to, and she says she kept her at home. You see her daughter peek at you from the hall, and you think that maybe she was born wrong too. You figure she has never left this house, and you want to get her out of it. The next week you ask the woman if you can visit with her daughter. She brings you down the hall and into the sunroom where her daughter is drawing. She's quiet for a while, and then she looks up and tells you she likes to sit in here and watch the birds outside. The light falls in on her hair like beach sunshine in the movies. There's plants growing all around her. It's like a jungle, and you sit in the wicker chair across from her and wait for her to talk to you. like she's a magical animal behind all the vines and leaves. All you can figure is that she's just very, very shy. You think maybe you would have been this way too if you didn't grow up in such a loud family. Her mother takes the two of you to the movies to see South Pacific, and everything is going really nice until you get to the part when they're jumping in the waterfall and swimming, and you wish you could jump in the water. You think of your brothers and sisters swimming in the creek on the farm, laughing and swimming. You wish you could swim. How the cool water would feel like, moving so freely in it. You feel yourself getting upset. The popcorn starts to tremble in your hands, and you're afraid you're going to spill it. But then the girl holds her hand out in front of you, like she's asking you to hold it. You hold her hand. She calms you. You start saving money really hard. You start working really hard. Start selling paper and pens all over. You start thumbing rides to Virginia. People in Conway who pass you say that you can get to Norfolk quicker than they can just driving. It's this myth that starts about you, and people still talk about it to this day. Everyone in town knows you by now. They say, "Hey, it's Charlie," when you walk into the bank or the grocery or the cafe. They all know you, and they've all talked to you, and you feel important. You get written up in the paper. The paper says real good things. You look like a real professional in the picture with your briefcase and nice hat on. You're standing beside the road, squinting at the camera. It says, "Here comes Charlie, April 1960. The next time you see the girl on Peachtree Street, you show her the article, and she giggles and says that she's already seen it, and she's cut it out and hung it up in her room above her desk. You dream of her room and what she has on her desk. Colored paper and charcoal and colored pens and watercolors, nothing too harsh, only graceful colors. She goes to her room and comes back with drawings of birds. You haven't told anybody this, but you feel like you need to tell her about what you wanted to do to those baby chicks that time at the family reunion. And she listens without being afraid. She says it's okay. We all get angry sometimes. We all want to run away sometimes. She points to the bird feeder outside the sunroom window where she sees her birds. Y'all wait and watch a bluebird come to the feeder. You're afraid of hurting others, but you feel it in your heart you can never hurt her. You know this more than anything. Before the bluebird flies away, you ask her to marry you, and she says yes. Your daddy says that no two people like the two of you should be together in marriage. You tell him you have your own money and punch him in the face in front of your mama. When your daddy falls back, the look on his face is both surprised and proud. He does not hit you back. Your mama plays the piano at your wedding, and your sisters make cakes. It's so hot in the church that June that your new wife swears she saw sweat roll off your nose. She'll always love to remind you of this, and you'll deny it every time just to see her laugh. Your mama and sisters help your new wife hang up her bird drawings in the house. They put them in the places that look the best. Your new wife insists that the bluebird must be hung over the bed. You feel it above you when you kiss her in bed. Your bedroom becomes a far, far away jungle. It feels like strange and beautiful branches lean heavy and circle from the ceiling from the sky. You're happy when she takes off her nightgown by herself. You're surprised when she takes your hands and puts them on her body. When she pulls you to her by your belt. When she's under you, she's soft and warm. And you hold her without shaking. The first time you come inside her, she kisses you all around your face like a rainbow. You think of her watercolors. You think of God. Maybe it's his still, quiet voice you're hearing when she sounds out pleasure. You start to read the Bible she gave you when y'all got married. You like Colossians chapter 3, 12 through 14. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. You write this verse on a piece of paper and put it on the refrigerator. Your wife helps you pray about all the anger you've always had. You start tithing at church. You get baptized. You put on a compassionate heart and send your mama and brothers and sisters letters apologizing for whatever hurt you caused them. Your mama passes away from cancer right before Christmas, the year y'all got married. And in front of all her unopened presents, your daddy looks at you and your wife with her hand on your knee like y'all are dumb, turns his back to y'all to face the rest of the family. Your brothers and sisters drink whiskey and play cards and laugh loudly. Your wife does not say much to them, and she follows you to the kitchen every time you get up to make her more chocolate milk. Your sisters tell her they like her sweater. Your nieces and nephews ask her to draw them giraffes. She cries to you when you get home because she can only draw birds. You comfort her. You protect her. You tell her that you love her for who she is. You tell her that riding with your sisters to Belk's the next afternoon would be good for her. She never gets out of the house. It'd be good for her to get out. You give her some money to buy her a pretty new dress. While she's out, you think of what kind of dress she's gonna get, how she'll look coming home into the door, if she'll spin with her new dress on. You're thinking of this as you sit down for lunch at your dining room table. You look out the dining room window and wonder how your wife's cactuses are blooming in the winter weather. The blooms are so many, hanging heavy, bursting bright pink, stars falling together all at once. You think she has made you a better person for being able to notice things like that. You tell yourself not to forget to ask her about the blooms. You die there, choking on a peanut butter sandwich. When your wife comes home, she is wearing exactly the pretty new dress you wanted her to get. It's lilac with small white polka dots, and it flows down her like waves. She puts your head in her lap and sits next to you at the table. She traces your ear with the silk hem of her dress until they take you away. At your funeral, the church is packed. People are standing up at the back. People are all in the balcony. People are sitting back in the Sunday school rooms. people from all over North Carolina and Virginia. Outside the church, your daddy tells the funeral director that your wife will sit behind your family. The funeral director says, "But she's Mr. Charlie's wife." And your daddy says, "I'm paying for it, so you're going to do what I want." At the graveside, after it's all over, the mayor finds your wife crying in the crowd. She's between your baby sisters. The mayor gives her a key to the town in a cedar box. He says, "It's in your honor." He says, "You're a hero." The plaque on the box says your name. Over the next couple of months, your sisters come and visit your wife, try to comfort her, but she only wants to read the Bible in a rocking chair. She takes down the bluebird above y'all's bed and places it in the back of the closet behind your briefcase. She only sleeps on the couch. Her younger brother moves in and lives with her until she dies of old age. When she dies, your daddy is still alive. He's in a wheelchair and chews on cigars. But he does not want your wife buried next to you. He makes sure it doesn't happen. Everyone in town is upset by it. So when your daddy finally dies at 102, your brothers and sisters raise enough money to move her next to you in the family plot. The brother you used to beat up the most brings flowers for you and your wife when he's in town. He thinks about you every day. He dreams of you whistling as you walk with your briefcase. You never whistled, though. You hummed. Yes, you always hummed. I think I'll end there. It's 8:30. So I'll take whatever questions y'all have for me. I'm reading the comments. I can see them when they come through. So Meredith asked me, "Can you talk about the brother at the end? How did you decide on that frame?" The brother at the end is my granddaddy, and my granddaddy told me that his brother, my Uncle Jimmy, who I never met, he died in the 70s before I was born. But my granddaddy told me that my Uncle Jimmy never let his life circumstances get him down. My granddaddy had a piano in his house, and in the piano bench, he went and opened up the piano bench, and he had the newspaper article of my Uncle Jimmy thumbing like this with his briefcase. And my granddaddy said to me, showing me that newspaper article, he said, don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do what you want to do. Because they told Jimmy he couldn't do a lot of things. And he ended up doing what he wanted to do. But then later, as my granddaddy was dying, he did tell me that his older brother Jimmy would beat him. So my granddaddy told me the story of Jimmy. So that's the frame of it. Let's see. Karen asked me, do you hear the voices of home differently in your head at a distance? I think they're always in my head. I don't know if I hear them differently at a distance because as an adult, I lived back home about 2 years ago, and I would still hear people in my head the same, even after interacting with those same people all day, all day long. Oh, Robert. Robert says, here's an easy question, maybe. Why did you write this one in second person? Good question. I had this story in my head my whole life about my Uncle Jimmy. And when I was in my MFA program, I decided that every short story I wrote, I needed to write it in a whole brand new way. A whole new way that I've never written a short story in before. It was kind of like a challenge that I set to myself. And I'd come across second person in undergrad. I'd studied it a little bit more in MFA. And actually, after reading that Mark Richard autobiography, The House of Prayer #2, and I saw how he sustained second person for a full book-length thing, then I was like, this is how I gotta write. This is how I gotta write Uncle Jimmy's story. Because I'd tried writing it before, and it didn't feel right. I knew it wasn't the right way to tell it. So I'm glad I tried it in second person. That felt right. Just got a question here. How do you think about the balance of levity and tragedy? Well, for me and my kin, maybe it's just for anybody, but when tragedy happens, it often cuts through moments of levity or cuts through moments when you feel secure. So tragedy is always like a big shock. And I like to try to show that on the page, because that is how it happens in real life. That's exactly how it happens. you don't get any you don't really get any clues, right, that a tragedy is going to happen unless you have a loved one that's like very sick and slowly dying or something. Or you're in a bad relationship and you know it's going sour. But often you don't really have heads up for really bad tragedies. So maybe that answers the question. Oh, cool. I never thought that I'd have a short story collection, and the only reason why I do is because I submitted to a contest. And I submitted to the contest because I needed money to move. I was living back home and my family couldn't help me move, and I was scared to death to end up living there. I was working at an insurance agency selling cottonseed insurance, and I had one earbud in all the time, and I was listening to classical music to help calm my nerves every day. And then my boss came in and he said, "You gotta lose the headphones." And I knew then that I needed to get out of there, so I applied, or I submitted to this contest because I needed the money, but I didn't think I was going to win it, but I really needed the money. So I'm glad that I wildly, very wildly won the contest, got the money. The local paper found out. They came to my job on my lunch break and asked to take a picture of me, and then they put it on the front page of the paper by that Friday morning. And then that Friday day at like 4 o'clock, you know how bosses do, they like wait until Fridays at 4 o'clock to drop bombs on you. He came in my office and shut the door and basically told me I needed to go home over the weekend and pray about whether or not this was the job for me. And it was because he'd seen I won that award in the paper. So anyway, I told him, I said, no thank you. Doug asked me, could you talk about your empathy for characters on the margins? I think it has to do with feeling lonely or scared. I think if you feel really lonely, you can relate to anybody who has felt lonely. And if you're scared, you can relate to other people who can feel scared or who have felt very scared. Yeah, it's when you have experienced trauma, it's easier to relate to others who have experienced trauma. It's easier to recognize it. Inherited trauma, too. At least if you grow up somewhere where the oral tradition is really powerful. I'm actually afraid of it, but because she's afraid of it. I guess if there's no more questions, I will get on out of here. Thank y'all for tuning in on this Friday evening when there's much more important things to be doing. And I'm really thankful for this time with y'all at the West Virginia Wesleyan College winter residency. My students have become my teachers. That's the most wonderful feeling. So thank you, and yeah, I will see y'all, some of y'all, tomorrow in our morning seminars. Good night, and tell your people that you love. Let them know that you love them. Let you know that you love them before you go to sleep. Good night.